Call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is minutes of December 8th, 2015 regular meeting. You all have been provided a copy of that. Are there any questions or corrections?
Need a pen?
If not, I'd entertain a motion regarding those minutes.
So moved.
What are you moving, Mr. Ryerson?
I would move this chair and place it on the table.
Are you moving to approve or disapprove?
Approved.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Bryce. Roll call vote, please.
Richard?
Yes.
Bryce?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is motion to approve the minutes of the January 21st, 2016 special meeting. You've had a copy of those minutes provided to you. Are there any additions, corrections that need to be made? If not, I'd entertain a motion regarding those minutes.
Move to approve the minutes
I have a
from the
motion.
January 21st meeting.
Okay, have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
Have a motion by Bryce, second by Mike. Roll call vote, please.
Bryce?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes. Now, item number 4 is in regard to the financials. We provided a copy of those. Are there any questions about the financials?
Move to approve the financial reports.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
I would move approval.
We've already got a motion. Do you have a second?
I did not hear that. I would
Yeah.
second it.
Okay. You got a motion by Bryce, a second by Richard to approve the financials as presented. Roll call vote, please.
Bryce?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes. Next item is the update, discussion, or action regarding the Winoka Incubator Building. Sonia?
I'll tell you that we've talked with the contractor and he should be working on it next week. I have turned the gas off down there because that was running. We've spent probably $300 on each side. So I did go ahead and turn the gas off. I don't see a freeze or anything happening. Alan Poe, the incubator manager, is helping oversee that with Tim Crisip. And so he's provided a list to the contractor, and like I said, we should be getting that all taken care of over the next couple of
Who's the
weeks.
contractor?
When you suggested.
Bradford.
Yes. Oh, I can't remember his name, but yes. And they've both met with him down there, so. That's just giving you an update, letting you know what I've done.
So there's no action or anything that we need to take at this time?
Not at this time, no.
Any prospects for the building?
I've had an inquiry on some office space, but nothing confirmed yet.
Board, have any questions for Sonia?
How big is that building? And what is there besides office space?
I should have brought you a copy. It's designed to hold 2 businesses. Right now, I can do a makeshift.
Just an explanation, kind of. Is it
I'm gonna guess there's 2 offices and it's set up to be split like this, but it's not right now. But there's 2 offices and you can put a wall in here and divide this in so the 2 businesses could be located there. And the size, I'm trying to remember, was it
50 by 60 maybe?
maybe?
Something like that. Yeah, I don't remember.
But there's 2
Could be a
overhead,
little bigger than that, but that'd be the minimum.
2 overhead doors and
It's right.
separate offices, separate bathrooms. So
It's right
it can be
west of where
divided.
Chesapeake has their
okay?
ONG location for vehicles.
Right.
It's just right west of that.
Okay. What color is the building? I've never paid attention to
I
this.
think it's white.
White or tan?
That's
White,
beside-
maybe off-white, but white,
Yeah, okay.
if I remember right.
I've left the city utilities on in case he needs electricity and stuff,
And what is it we're doing to it?
Richard and I went down and took a walk through, and it provided a list. There's some cosmetic things, but the primary thing is fixing the ridge. They had a vented ridge cap, and it lets out a lot of air, lets in water, and they're gonna take care of that.
Okay.
Just a whole checklist, there were a lot of
Yeah.
little things that need to be done, you know?
Trying to get that taken care of and get it rented.
Any other questions? If not, we'll go on to number 6, update, discussion, possible action regarding commercial building in West Lakes Edition.
Okay, the building in the West Lakes Edition is where Big Man currently is. And I've contacted them because they hadn't signed their 3-month extension. And I went out and looked at the building, and there's some stuff that's gonna have to be worked on. This door being one of them. There's an inside and an outside view of it. I'll be happy to send these around. I just thought it would be good for us to have an idea of what the inside of the building looks like. Greg called me yesterday afternoon. He was gonna try and make it to the meeting today and was unable to make it, but wanted me to express that they would like to continue to lease the building for another year. I told him that we had someone interested in leasing the building. I would present the fact that they wanted to continue leasing, but anyway.
And their current lease, their monthly payment is how much?
It's 500.
What?
500.
And if you remember, we voted, I think,
We reduced it originally. It was like 4,000 or something, and we reduced it, and we reduced their interest rate and everything whenever they were kind of struggling to. They have had a gentleman in twice, maybe, or could be 3 times now that's met with Jim and is looking at purchasing the entire business, but it's full of Big Man stuff.
Is that all it is? It's full of stuff? Is there anything activity going on?
Yep. There is not.
no industrial activity going on in that building right now. Their lease expired. They requested a 90-day extension so they could basically vacate and, get their property. We approved that. I can't remember which meeting it was.
December, I believe.
December, we approved that to go through March sometime. And they've never executed the extension, so technically they're on a month-by-month rental with us as far as that goes. But part of this is to decide what we're going to do, the nature of what our authority set up for is to promote industry, and we did that with Big Man and Grizzly Ford and that group. And then right now, it seems like it's being used primarily for storage. So, and I think it's on your presentations, I understand.
Let's take a moment to listen to this. I don't know what it is. Isn't that great?
And how much what's the balance?
On their line of credit, their note that they had, 26,000.
And they are current on the payments? And you may recall there was a point where they were paying some interest only, nothing on the principal, and then we met with them, and that was adjusted, and they began paying on the principal, so we're down to, I think it was 100,000, right at 100,000 originally. We're down to 26,000, and that payment is not tied to the lease of the building.
Separate.
Separate items. They We did that, and we helped fund up their startup cost and some of their equipment and things of that nature.
It would be nice if we had something that wanted to go in there that could actually use it instead of just a storage building.
Well, I think that's where we're getting ready to go. You guys are, do you have any basic questions about that lease? I mean, it's up, it's expired. We offered them, I mean, they asked for it, we renewed it for 3 months as far as we were concerned. They didn't execute that.
As far as we know, they're not trying to restart their.
No, they're just, my understanding is they're just trying to sell it. To get rid of it. They're kind of all, they were struggling along, and I mean, was down to one person. Corey was doing all of it. He was trying to do the repairs, he was trying to do the building, all of that, and he, you know, like many others, went to the oil field, and he still tried to come in and help them some, but
He's now unemployed though.
yeah, I mean, but I don't know that they are trying to market it anymore, other than to sell it.
Okay.
Well, with that in mind, we'll move to item number 7, which is a presentation request by Aero Service to lease the commercial building located in Westlake's addition for company expansion.
You turning that over to me?
I'm turning that over to you.
I don't know if you want me to stand for this, but I
You don't
would,
need
but,
I do. No.
Premier Aerospace, of course, is a company that I started up in October of 2007. We were originally in the Mackey building that is now the MRC building. In that building, I had 12,500 square feet to operate in because the front portion of it was still the dance studio. Along came the oil boom, and along came MRC with bigger and better money than what a small new company had to offer, and away went the building. Unfortunately for me at that time, everything in Alva had already been leased up by oil companies or big companies. Chris Green had a small building, used to be my mother's daycare building, the Mulberry Bush over by Washburn Motor. And he was operating a welding shop in the back end of that, so he cleaned out the front 2/3, and so we went from 12,500 down to 3,000 square feet, and moved our equipment and machinery into there, and moved the majority of our tooling into storage at my partner's facility up in Udall, Kansas. So right now we have once a week a courier that drives a load of tools from there to here and picks up what he brought the week before and takes them back up there. So having space has been difficult for us for the last few years here because there's been nothing available. I started inquiring about this building because I knew there was no activity going on at that point, and wondered if it was going to be vacating, and started asking. The last time I was in it, you know, when Corey was out there by himself, you know, I know that the conditions were exactly what one would expect with one guy trying to pull off running that whole operation by himself. You know, so yeah, and in driving by it, its conditions have deteriorated to where, you know, I felt like it could be better used, and I need space. We are currently, hopefully this week, closing on a contract that's going to really help us accelerate our growth. You know, today, presently, I have a total of 7 employees. 3 of us are full-time, 4 of those are part-time. And I start advertising tomorrow, seeking additional full-time help. And I was coming with the hope that you would consider a lease to us on that building, and you know, what I would like and desire is to be able to lease it at $1,200 a month, and do that for a year's term with 2 options to renew for additional years. Everybody here, I believe, knows we have land leased at the airport that we have been hoping to be able to build a building on. But at the same time that we went and leased land on the airport, along came this thing called the oil boom, and the cost of a metal building shot up to outrageous prices. Hopefully, we're going to see that trickling back down to where we can get out there and start some construction on the airport. We see, if we're able to lease this building with you guys, we see that as a temporary move for us. We need something to allow us to go ahead and grow, because the building we're in will not allow that growth to occur. There's no if, and frankly, my dilemma is, if the business is going to grow right now, the only way I can do that is to move some of that into Kansas. And I am from Alva. I'm from here. I want to be here. I don't want to be up there. But that's my only options today, unless I can find space to grow into. So I'm here hoping you'll allow us to lease it. I would like to ask you to consider, if you will, in a lease, either a 60 or a 90-day time period where we're not paying a rent. In order for us to rehab that building, I need office space. That thing has been 100% manufacturing space. So, you can ask Mackie as a landlord what we did to change the appearances and the cleanliness and the tidiness of the building that he had that was a dump and a wreck when we moved into it. You can ask Mr. Green the same thing. We're going to come in, we're going to clean it up, we're going to power wash everything, we're going to paint walls, we're going to make restrooms habitable restrooms. I would hope that we could get some sort of a relief on that, so that, because I know this board doesn't necessarily have an employee that they're going to send out there to clean that all up once it's been vacated.
Bryce has that for us.
Oh, Bryce is the guy? Okay, good. But, I guess the fortunate thing for me in this time with oil and gas being down and the cost of fuels being down, pilots actually fly more, because they can. It's a little bit cheaper to get out there and do that. And so they see more and more of what's going on with their airplanes, and our business has been stronger for the last few months, contrary to what seems to be going on in most other places. The business is getting stronger and stronger. And we would very much like to be able to take on a lease out there and utilize that as a springboard to getting onto the airport in a new construction.
Could you refresh my memory a little bit about exactly what you do?
We do thermoform plastics, similar to plain plastics. Our primary customer today is a company in Wichita Aerospace Spares, or Atlas Aerospace. They are contracted with both Beechcraft and Cessna for all of the spares market. So we manufacture all of on the Beechcraft, they're contracted for the Beech 1900 specifically, and some of the trainer military aircraft. But we build all of those interior pieces and exterior components for them. We build all of the Cessna 172, Cessna 150, 182s, the smaller Cessna aircraft, all of the non-production products for those two companies through Wichita Aerospace. And then we also have our PMA product line, which is what Plain Plastics' primary business is, where we sell direct to the end user, owner, operator. A little over 2 years ago, we went down and acquired a company out of Texas. It was Piper Plastics was the name of the company. Heinel and Associates owned that. I had gotten to know Al over a number of years. We went and acquired his company and relocated it all into our facility. And that actually occurred after we had moved into the Chris Green small building. So, we were jam-packed. We tried fitting his 2 additional formers into the process, and that didn't work out for us because of the floor space. So we ended up buying another modern-day forming system like we had with our primary system. So.
How many employees? You said, I know you got 7 full or part-time now? You said you're advertising. How many are you looking at trying to have?
Right now, I'm hoping to find 2 full-time for production and 1 full-time for the office. Have not started to advertise an office position. We've got the 1 part-timer running. It's as I add the additional production that I need to add that additional space there.
And will you still have the same part-time help
Yeah.
when you hire these full-time help?
I intend to keep the part-timers as well. The part-timers, 2 of those are active college students. Actually, I guess 3 of them are active college students, and 1 of them is recently released from the oil field, so was in need of some work. So all young college-age kids that are working for us.
If we approve this today, and it's my understanding Big Mint has it through March 31st, when would you want possession?
At the earliest time possible.
April 1st.
You know, if April 1, if we can be in there and start cleaning and painting and trying to put up walls to, yeah. I need the space as of pretty much a couple of months ago, but yeah, it's, I would take possession at the earliest point possible. And understanding that there's, yeah, like I said, when I was last in it, I know that scrap parts and excess fiberglass parts that didn't work out right just got, you stepped out the door and you tossed them up on top of the mezzanine. And so I don't know how quick the cleanup process is, but I do know, you know, when we moved Paul out of the Rhodes building out north of town, fiberglass is a tough thing to clean up. And so, you know, my expectation of what cleaned out means whenever the current tenant leaves, that my expectation is that means there's some work left. So we'd like to be able to get in and start, you know, like I said, we'd pull a hot seat trailer in and start power washing everything we could. I don't know its electrical services at this point. I don't know if that's got a 600 amp service. I'm hopeful that it does. If it does not, then I'm going to have to be working with OG&E to try and get a 600 amp service dropped into there because our forming systems require that much power. And you don't think it does?
I'm saying, I hope it's, I think bridge quite a ways away, maybe up there at the highway.
Yeah.
Might not be.
And what your proposal is, you'd like to do basically a 1-year lease?
Well, what I would like to do is a 1-year lease, and then, but having option to extend that at least for another year, if not 2 additional years. And it's just, we test the market with bids on buildings about every 6 months at this point. And if we finally hit one that's good and business is growing good, then we'll start construction. But I don't
How
want to.
long would it take you to construct the building?
Well, based on prior experiences, it takes about 18 to 20 months to
Well, the
construct
reason
the
I'm
building
asking
in
that
Alpharetta.
is I'm wondering if the board might prefer to consider a little longer lease with you, maybe initially a 2-year lease. Because we're going to be moving, we're talking about moving current renters out, and they are paying them, you know, and then with an option for an additional year or 2 if you
Mhm.
should need it. If you can't get something built for 18 months and you're not in there for
That's true.
3 months,
Right.
then we're
Yeah,
really
so-
looking at about 2 years anyway.
Right, very true.
Uh,
And I would not be opposed to a 2-year with option past the 2-year. Would be, because yeah, you're right. I think it would take a minimum of 18 months to go from.
How many months do you think you would like free rent to do repairs and cleanup?
Well, I would like to see a 3-month, a 90-day without the rent, because I figure with the expense that's going to be invested into rehabbing the building itself, I think that's an expense that's going to be saved by this board. You know, you've currently got saplings that are no longer saplings through your foundations all over the place out there that are, you know, that what I'll do is bring my guys and, work on cleaning stuff up so that we can run a business effectively out of it.
How big is that building compared to your existing building?
I believe that building is 10,000 square feet, and we're currently operating in 3. Because the building I'm in is 4,000 total, but the rear 1,000 square feet of that, Mr. Green runs his plasma cutting and steel fabrication shop, so.
Either December 31st financial you would share with us to look at the credit risk on it.
I can certainly do that if that's necessary. I have no objections. I think our financials are, we've got credit history that I can share galore, so.
Are you paying rent on your current building?
Yes. Yeah. We currently pay $1,200 a month rent. We were paying Mackey's $2,500 a month rent. And what I was proposing here was to keep at the $1,200 a month rent. To primarily because that would allow me to, at this stage, to go ahead and get the employees added rather than, because that's the growth that I think we're all seeking is additional personnel.
Sonia, has Greg or Jim or anybody indicated, I assume during this 90 days, we've not had any start of any cleanup or the removal of any property or anything?
I've had neighbors out there tell me that they've seen a couple weekends worth of work going on. Truckloads of stuff being carried out, tractors and such moving things out. So, but that's report from folks that live out in that neighborhood. So.
I'm not. I mean, I went and got the key from Jim the other day to go look and see what kind of work, I don't know, 3 weeks ago maybe, which he allowed me to do and go in and look and see what we were gonna have to do as far as repairs. And at that time, I mean, they were still of the mind that they knew they were gonna be out in March 31st. Like I said, yesterday afternoon is whenever Greg called me and stated, they just have nowhere to go with it and wanted to continue to lease it. He said, "Oh, do we pay our rent?" Yes, you do. I mean, I can't deny that. Yes, you do.
$500 a month and no activity whatsoever going on out there, which is, again, the purpose of what we're here for. That's fairly cheap storage for
Yeah.
10,000 square foot building for $500 a month.
I'm in favor of renting to Scott at $1,200 because, like you said, that's what we're here for, is to try to increase business or industry and jobs. And right now that building isn't creating any jobs. If we rent it to Scott, it's going to create and keep some jobs and maybe create more.
Scott, what kind of income? How do you guys pay these full-time people coming in? I mean, I know you don't want to publicly just discuss everything, but what kind of range would we be looking at?
Well, you're talking most of the positions are going to be anywhere from a $9 to a $12 an hour type of position. We do provide a retirement benefit to which we contribute 3%. We also provide a full health insurance benefit to the employees. Yeah, and of the full-time folks that I presently have, all 3 are local, or at least Woods County, people with families here whose families are a part of our community and have been for years.
Does anyone know for sure if this building's in or out of the city limits?
I believe it's in, but I'm not.
I think it is. I'd have to look at his map to verify that. I think it is.
I don't remember where the line is. Erie Street past it is not in the city limits, I believe, so I'm not sure where it actually stops.
I think it runs right out.
I remember, this has been a while though, but at one point, that's right, it wasn't. But I thought they did
They did some.
incorporate that in,
Yeah.
I thought they annexed it.
I thought they did too.
I thought we got
I think
airing
it's
when we
in.
annexed
I
too,
think it's
but
in.
I'm not positive.
I don't remember
I'm
that part.
asking that to find out there might be some other problems connected with this, required things for occupancy, because right now it's more about farm storage than anything else. Could be things like sprinkler systems and eye washes and stuff like that.
I don't think that's gonna be an issue. I mean, it'd be on city water, and it would have had to comply with the city code that was built.
And it would have had to comply with the code when it was being used as a manufacturing place
Mhm.
3 or 4 years ago when they
Which
was
is
making
basically the
cars.
same purpose. I mean,
Yeah.
as a practical matter.
I don't know, sometimes those things, once it's vacated, you lose your carryover too.
Yeah, I know that the fiberglass manufacturing is classified in the same as plastics manufacturing as far as OSHA codes and all of that, so I would assume
Don't think that'd be a problem for you.
that, I mean, I would say that it's not been, that its occupancy has never been released at this point, because the manufacturing firm still has the lease on the building, and the manufacturing firm's looking to carry over on that, so. You know, eye wash stations, those are, we have one that just mounts on the end of your sink faucet anyway. The heat is gonna be there, but as far as sprinklers, if that becomes your issue, then it becomes your issue. And you might be better off to help us find a way to build a building at that point, so.
Well, you guys, Richard, I don't know what you all think about the lease agreement. From my position, what Scott's proposing, it certainly works more in tune with what we're trying to accomplish through our board. It seems like that's, rather than a storage unit, to have some industry and develop it that way. I think if we did that, if you wanted to lease it to them, effective April 1st, with a 90-day waiver rent for purchasing it and cleaning it. I don't know whether, I mean, I think we're gonna have probably a problem with the current tenant being able to remove their stuff in the next 23 days. We may have to work with that, but they've had 90 days basically, or had 60 already. I don't know if this is coming. And what I would envision is if we run into a problem there, if we had to, we could work with Scott and the big man people to, try to smooth that out and get that transition made as easy and quickly as possible. Because it might be a problem for you to get in on April 1, I don't know that.
Well, and that, I'm certainly not wanting to create havoc. And I think that's part of the, some hard timeline so that I can start hiring contractors and, as far as electrical and all of that, getting that running. So,
The board could consider if they want, if it would be the board's pleasure to do some kind of, not extension of the lease, but to give the big man, if we want to pick a different date. I mean, if we wanted to say May 1st.
Yeah.
And then you would take it effective May 1st, and that would give them about 6 weeks, 7 weeks to remove. They've got a lot, from looks in these pictures, they've got a lot to move.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, May 1st would be a better deal for those guys.
Is that gonna pose any kind of problem for you, as long as you know you've got a time frame?
Right, as long as I've got a time frame, I don't want to get to middle of April and suddenly we're looking for a June 1st, and then looking for a July 1st. I would hope that, I knew it was coming up and had asked about it before the end of the last lease term, and they requested the 90 days, so hopefully they'll utilize whatever you give them.
Trying to make this thing work, would you be anticipating using the yard around there for anything. There's quite a little bit of fenced territory there. We could provide for them for an alternate 60 days after this thing to dump some of that stuff in.
Yeah, I mean, if they need, I
So
would.
you can get inside and clean it and get to work.
Right, I do have the one big blue Connex storage container that's on the side of the building that'll be going out with me, that would be set out into the parking lot to begin. I need accesses to the overhead doors. Yeah, that's gonna, but if they needed the west side or the north end, just as temporary for some containers for them to be moving stuff into, that's not gonna interfere with our operations. We just need enough room for the freight truck to come in and turn around and get out.
If we were to consider that, and if the board wants to consider a waiver to allow them to have cleanup expenses, and some of those things are gonna have to happen, which no doubt they are. If we made the lease effective May 1st, then that would be a waiver of rent. If we did 90 days, their first rent payment would be August 1. They would have May, June, and July without payments due. We have done things similar to that in the past, where we've waived rent. Of course, oftentimes we have reduced rent. Sonia was talking about what we've done for Big Man in order to assist them as they needed to try to keep that business ongoing. So I don't think that would be unusual or unreasonable if the board decides they want to do that.
It would cost us more than that to clean it up ourselves.
I'll make a motion that we rent the building to Primary Area Services starting May 1st of 2016, giving them rent-free till August 1st of 2016, and then at $1,200 a month. And I would like to make that a 2-year contract.
If we have a motion to lease the commercial building located in West Lakes Addition to Premier Aero Services for a 2-year lease agreement at the rate of $1,200 per month, effective May 1st, 2016, with a waiver of rent for the months of May, June, July, and first rent payment due on August 1, 2016. Did I state that correctly?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
With the options for renewal, did you say so?
Oh, I didn't say that, but I'll add that to my motion with options to renew at the end of the 2 year.
We could get a different rate at that point.
With, I'm not, the rate can be negotiated at that time.
And are you gonna, as part of your motion, that limit like for an additional 2-year period, or just an option to, I mean, if you usually an option to renew, you have some terms set forth there, like for an additional 2-year period or whatever.
1 year, whatever.
Oh, we could go for an additional year.
You guys heard the motion. Is there a second on the motion?
I would second the motion. I'd also like to ask a question. As far as that business is concerned, would it be a great advantage to you to be located on the, or close to the airport?
Great advantage, not necessarily, no. Like I said, right now, the majority of our business goes in a box in the back of a pickup to Wichita.
You won't have fly-ins that install kind of situation.
That's an aspiration that we'd love to get to at the current time. I mean, once we're able to build a building, then we'll be building on the airport for sure. Once the business and construction rates are matched up well enough to do that, that's definitely where we want to be. But as as far as for the business to succeed and grow right now, it's not a requirement, but it's definitely, it adds more options for growth once we get there.
Any other questions?
I have one more question. As far as improvements, things like that, you mentioned 600 old service, you know, and things like that, are you running the building as is, or are you expecting us to make improvements? New lighting, new electrical, plumbing for the restroom?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming the building has enough light or adequate light to do the job. If not, then as with both of the prior leases we've had, we've gone in and we've added. We've carried that expense of putting in new lighting systems to both the buildings we were in before. The 600 amp service, that's on us to negotiate that with OG&E and get that set up and brought in. I believe they'll do that without any expense to us because it's to their benefit as well. Cleaning up and rehabbing restrooms. Now, if structure needs repair, the overhead door picture of a blown out door, I'd hope that you guys are going to take care of those types of items on the structure itself. But as far as coming in and painting walls and cleaning things up, and I know there's some temporary structures that have been built in or added into the thing. Whether those come out when they leave or we remove that type of stuff to create additional floor space. Our primary need is floor space for warehouse racking. As I said, we moved from 12,500 to 3,000. So basically the manufacturing process stayed, the storage of the tooling and all of that had to go. That's very inconvenient and very expensive to have that shuttled back and forth on a weekly basis. Getting all of that back in-house is a big desire, so floor space is going to be important.
I have a motion and a second on the floor to approve a lease with Premier Aero Services as described. Roll call vote, please.
Bryce?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Mike?
Abstain.
Rick?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay for the WC EDC update if you want. You're welcome to go make a look.
All right. We'll give you that so that you can get.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get you a written lease put together and for you to look at.
All right, thank you. I
Don't
appreciate
stop the rain.
Thank you very much. I'll try and keep it going.
Anybody want a cup of coffee besides me?
Now we're about done, aren't we?
Think so.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll just carry one then.
Okay, let's go ahead and do WC EDC update.
Okay. Several things. Been working on primarily, everybody knows about the layoffs. So far, I've had contact with in excess of 130 people where I've either worked with them on finding alternative jobs, updating resumes, all of that, trying to help fill that. I am working with the city of Alva, Northwestern, Northwest Tech to host a job fair, March 24th. Talk to businesses that are needing people. Been trying to do that pairing one-on-one, and then this group came together and decided they want to do this. I'm like, absolutely. So it will be March 24th from 2 to 6, and it'll be held out here at the Technology Center in our multi-purpose area, the new part. So maybe we can match up some people in transit or laid off workers with businesses still in need. Like I said, done lots of resumes and personal contacts. That's taken up a lot of time. The Woods County Economic Development Committee started talks. I mean, there's been talks and talks and talks go on about Northwestern and the rodeo team and the impact study, and Dr. Lemon was able to provide the board with an impact study last year, the end of last year, I guess. And there was a non-committee group working on an arena authority, kind of helping push or orchestrate that or get their non-committee. And they had their first meeting last Friday. They're still trying to get kicked off and get everybody brought up to speed. But there is some progress that's taking off with that, and I'll be stepping back into just an advisory role. So they've established their own authority. Working with the AVARD group, this turkey hunt is going to be a little different. As far as our guest list, we're trying to bring in some businesses that our contractors can utilize, because there are a lot of our local contractors, they're not building lease roads and lease pads and stuff now, and like Len and I was talking this morning about the commissioners meeting. There is a big project coming in northwest Oklahoma, in addition to and it all has wind related, and there'll be transmission related, and we're bringing some of those companies in, and we're going to try and orchestrate one-on-one meetings with some of our contractors. So that happens April 13th through the 15th. You'll be receiving your invitation in the mail. There is a meal both Wednesday night and Thursday night. You're welcome to both of them, one of them, whatever you want to do, but we really encourage you to come and visit with the people that we have coming in. That's a very hectic and busy time for me, just logistics and making sure everybody has what they need, their lodging, their licenses, have their guide, and having you guys come and be able to help talk one-on-one with them, where I've been talking with them, just help sell Woods County and our area more. So if you're able to attend, I would be eternally grateful.
Meals will be where?
It will be held at Baker's
Both of them?
Barn, yes. So. That's kept me pretty busy. The downturn has kept me pretty busy. So, anyway, we're gonna stop. We'll stop there.
Okay, any questions?
I have a question. I think the fact that Scott was here tells us there's a need for having a vacant building, for accessibility one. I wondered if we're searching for the possibility of some buildings opening up that might want to invest in. It's worked for us in the past, we just missed one. It would have been a real sweet deal, you know, and it might come back on the market, those folks are in deep trouble. That, or possibly other buildings.
Yes.
I think it'd be in our best interest to at least be aware of these things, be ready to jump. I'm not saying there's anything out there, I don't know of anything. But
Right
I've been
now, I
kinda
do.
looking.
Right, I've been kind of looking too. I've continued to look to see for available grant monies, which is how we've built our business or some of our buildings in the past. Those funds aren't there right now. So, just have to surely, you know, the buildings that I see that aren't being utilized right now, their landowners don't want to get rid of them.
I think there may be a possibility though, so we should be alert to that, I think. And
I would hope this group as a whole would always be on the lookout for anything that might be something we could look at as an investment or promoting industry, particularly right now. Downturn of oil and gas.
That's what's on the buy.
You know,
I don't know whether we'd be interested in Sand Ridge or.
I don't know, but, you know, you guys,
Not sure we can swing it.
are, as a group, we're in more places as a group, and I can't be everywhere at one time. So if you know of something, I encourage you to call me. Let me know direct me, how you want me to handle it. I mean, I work for you.
I think it's something we need to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
Okay, any new business? Not aware of any? Not, we're adjourned.